I grew up in a family that always stressed us learning about African American history and culture and African history and culture. My parents were very active in the civil rights movement. My father was a Tuskegee Airman, so I grew up with a focus on that, so I wasn't ignorant of my culture and history. However, when we think of slavery, we always think about the South.
Most of us didn't, say, grow up hearing a lot about slavery in the North. During the 19th century, there was a conscious effort to obliterate it from the records. When I'm looking at 19th century primary sources from the colonial period, often any reference to slavery is edited out. So you can imagine that generation upon generation, this starts to be forgotten, and it's very convenient to forget it because we don't really want to remember this dark part of our past.
When growing up in Massachusetts, if I can recall, most of what I was being taught at the time about enslavement was the story of cotton in the American South. There was no notion of enslavement in the North. The North was the land of the abolitionists, the anti-slavery societies. The North were the good guys.
Slavery ends in most locales in the North by the first half of the 19th century. The North recast itself very quickly as the site of freedom in the aftermath of the Civil War. So they have no interest politically in addressing their own history of slavery. Slavery existed in all parts of North America.
Records from ship companies, from major slave traders in Rhode Island, and research from historians in the 21st and the 20th century have revealed that the North was just as connected to slavery. The clothing that enslaved people wore, the shoes that they wore, was shipped from the North to the South. The ships that brought enslaved people from Africa to the Americas were ships that were often built or operated and owned by people from northern communities.
There are burial grounds in New York City, some in Westchester County, where the slaves were buried. Why were these people here? How did they get here? And in fact, they did exist because their bones and their remains are there. Historical facts that are right here, tangible at our fingertips, show that there was slavery in the North.
It's easy for us to think about slavery as being something that was in the past, and it was a long time ago. It's a past that makes us as Americans look bad. It's a past that some of us are embarrassed by, but it's a past that's important because it's part of the American fabric. It's part of who we are today and how we got here. And it's important for us to know the full history of American slavery in the North and the South.